gonna do is with some mixed media. If you don't have it, it's fine. I put the little sketch up. So this is the card, and I'm gonna do it again, but I'm gonna do it in pinks this time. So I'm sure you can see that glittery aspect of it. So what I did was, we have these new mixed media glitter pastes. So there's 4 of them. And I'll maybe just grab the other 2 so I can tell you the correct names for them and show you. Because what I did was these sample cards, because when you look at them in the bottles, you just don't get like a true reflection of what they are. So then I did these samples. So I did it on white, I did it on craft, and I did it on black, just so you can get a feel for how they look on the different materials. So I figured the craft kind of would represent any kind of mid-tone color. So the first one is the moon dust. So basically the moon dust is just paste with glitter. So it's like a holographic glitter, so it changes color as you move it. The next one is nebula. So that's the same, except they've added these gold stars. So it's quite interesting with these gold stars. And then the next one is asteroid. So the asteroid has silver bits in it, as well as these large silver circles. And then the final one is called solar flare, and it's gold, and it has the gold stars. So what I did was I mixed on the card, I mixed this first one, the moon dust, and this last one, the solar flare. And I'll show you how I did that. So you can just see the different impacts that you get on your different colors. So those are handy for me to keep as reference when I go to do something like this again, or something different, whatever. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna make this card. So I'm just gonna set it out of my way for now. And then I have my card base. So Close to My Heart does Slimline card bases now. So they're the same as the other card bases. They're very good quality. They are just the different size. So I'll set that out of the way. And then I have a scrap piece of paper to put down here. You can see there's a bit of glitter on things. Don't tell my husband that there's glitter. He hates glitter. And then this is my stencil. So this stencil, I should have looked that up, they come in a pack of 3. They're the full 12 by 12 size, which is amazing. I'm going to post after a layout that a fellow consultant did on a 12 by 12. And it's actually this technique, and it's just beautiful. Oh, they're there. So this is in stencil pack 1. So you get this one, you get this little heart one, and you get the mandala. And then there's 2 other packs. And this one here, one of the other consultants, she actually cut these up into squares. And so I ended up doing that. It actually works out really well, because when you're doing something like this, if you're not using all of these as a whole, you don't want your paste or whatever you're using to get over onto the other one. So it works out a little bit easier to cut them up. So what I'm going to do for this is I'm just going to try and place this in a spot that I like, so that you can, I like that, because with this one, what we're doing is we're putting the darker color on the inside and the lighter color on the outside of these. So you want to make sure that you have a little bit of play so that you can do that, right? So this one, you know, right? So that's just what I'm doing. I'm just gonna, I might even turn it a bit. There, I kind of like that. So I don't want to tape onto my paper. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to put this down to hold that in place a little bit. And then I'm going to tape my stencil and see if this works for me. So I did it a little bit differently before, but I think this might be easier. I actually taped my paper from the underside, but then you end up with your sticky parts, sticky tape sticking up. So we're going to try that and see how it works. So I have 2 colors. I have the Distressed Oxide, I have Tattered Rose, and Picked Raspberry. So I'm going to start with my lighter color, because I can just take my lighter color and I can go over the whole thing. So you can use regular inks on this. You don't have to use oxides. The only reason I'm using the oxides is because the colors are quite nice on this. And I wanted to give it a try. So I'm just going in some gentle circles. I'm not using a ton of pressure, but I go both ways just so I can get the maximum amount within that space of the stencil opening. So I'm putting more pressure on my stencil with my fingers. Hi Christine, glad you could join in. Maybe you actually can make this one if you were able to get some supplies for this. Okay, that one's pretty good. So I got my wet wipes handy because this is going to be messy. So I should have mentioned that too when you're preparing. You want to have some baby wipes handy or some water. My sink is pretty far away, so I need to make sure that I have baby wipes so that I don't have to get up in between. Okay, so I think I'm good. So that looks pretty good. And now I'm going to use my darker color. Whoops. Come on. Oh, it's stuck. Okay, so this one I want to be more careful because I just want to do the insides, right? So I'm just doing the centers. I just want to get that up a bit, make sure, yeah. Because I do use these for multiple colors. So I don't want to do too much, but see, I can kind of just blend it a little bit. Okay, that's good, I think. There's quite the contrast in color here. And it doesn't by any means have to be perfect and even, because again, when you cover it up with your glitter paste, that's gonna totally change the look of this too and help those colors blend together even more. So this one I just want to put a little bit in there. I want a hint of it, but not a lot. So I think I'm happy with that. And what I'm going to do just to make sure, I probably don't need to do this because the glitter is going to go on top, but I'm just going to do a quick once over just to kind of blend those edges in a little bit. Like I said, I probably don't really need to. There. Okay, so now comes the messy part. So I'm just going to move some of this stuff out of the way more because it's messy and I'm messy. Okay, so I'm going to start on the outside again with the lighter color, right? So I'm going to start with my moon dust. So I think I'll get a wipe out so that I'm ready. Okay, because definitely you don't want this stuff drying on your tools and stuff because it just makes it really hard to clean off. Okay, so this one's not as sticky, but it's sticky stuff. It's sticky. So you don't need a ton of it. Better to start with a smaller amount and work your way up. So I'm going to start, I think, with this one. And I'm just going to start spreading this onto the light color. some off the top. So when you're using a palette knife, if you didn't know, it's actually meant to use the back of the palette knife, not this part, but this part. Okay, so you don't need this to be too thick. And it would be easier probably if I could turn my surface, which I could if I really wanted to. I could turn the whole mat. And look, hair. There's hair everywhere. Dog. So you can see I'm just trying to stay on the lighter pink parts, but it really doesn't, like, you don't have to be too finicky with this because the look of it just all blends together and it looks so pretty. So it doesn't really matter if you have gold where this clear one is, or if you have this clear one where the gold is. It's all good. So you can see it even as I'm scraping, because I'm scraping off, and because it's Distress Oxide ink, the ink actually comes up a bit. So you got to be careful when you're going back into your paste. You don't want to put color into your paste. Okay, I think I'm good with that. Go over here. And if you end up with some spots that aren't covered, it's okay, because I did too, and you really don't notice. Good thing that's thick stuff, eh? Doesn't spill out. So one thing that I keep doing is, like, the stencil itself, I want to make sure that I don't have a bunch of wasted chunks sitting on there, because they're just going to get washed away when I clean my stencil. So I think I'm pretty good. Maybe put a tiny bit more over here. Just go down a little bit further. Okay. So I think I'm good with that. Sometimes on these bigger openings, you end up with your palette knife actually touching the paper directly, and then you end up with a gap. But like I said, it's not a big deal. Okay, so now I'm going to move on to my other. The worst, that happens to me all the time. I'm constantly, like, at my nose. I'm like, I got a hair in my nose, and you know it's dog hair. Okay, so this is then the gold one, the Solar Flare. So I like to try and keep as much off of that little cover as possible. This one is much stickier, so you can see how it just kind of bounces back. So I've actually had this one for a while, and I'm not sure if that's why. So that is something to remember with this type of media. You got to use it, because it does dry out, right? So as much as it's pretty and you might want to keep it, you got to use it. Okay, so now I'm just starting in the center, and I'm just working my way out. And it is a little bit harder to use this paste because of these stars, because the stars will kind of grab and then pull and then leave marks. But just, like, play around with it. It's you don't need to make it very thick. In fact, it looks really pretty if it's thinner. Right? Because then you can see your ink color through it. So I like to try and get the stars so that they're actually in the opening. So again, I'm not going to waste them when I clean my stencil off if they're still stuck to the stencil. So see how that one just kind of pulls all my glitter off. I think I'm pretty good there. I think. I want to, like I said, you don't want to mess with it too much. And with this technique, it almost less is more, I think, with it. Especially with the gold, because like I said, you don't want to cover up that pretty pink underneath. See, I kind of got some over there, but that's okay. I can get that in the opening. Okay, I think I'm good with that. Okay, close that up, wipe that off. And then I can pull this up. So like I said, you don't want to leave this because it will be really hard to get off after. So you're going to have to excuse me while I just try and clean off some of this paste. It's not the easiest because it really needs to go under the tap. Ooh, see, that would have been nice to put on a piece of paper. Like Vicky Booten always says, don't waste it. Okay. Okay, so I think I'm okay there. I think I got most of it off. Okay. My little piece of tape there. There we go. Okay. So there is my card front. Now, I'm not really going to be able to make the whole card right now because it's wet, right? So I'm not really going to be able to do an awful lot with it, but I'm going to do some of the other prep work. So I need a piece of colored cardstock underneath, but I didn't want to choose it until I had my media done because I didn't know what color was going to work best. Sorry, I'm just going to pull out some of my cardstock here. Let's see what I got here. I'm thinking the raspberry might be the best color. What do you think? Is that going to work? Or is it better if it's paler? So two different looks. Which one is better? I think I like, yeah, I think I like the darks. I think I want to highlight the center because the center is not, there's not as much of the darker color. So that just pulls that, sorry, dropping things, pulls that out and highlights it. So I think the darker color is going to be better. I think. Oh, so I need to cut a piece of that. So I'm just going to have a quick look at what, oh, I don't need to do that. Here's my card. So I'm going to cut that at 8.5 by 3.5. Yeah, 8.5 by 3.5. I need a piece. And of course my trimmer's moved. Sorry, I'm just cutting my piece of paper over off camera here. Okay, there's my piece. And then I just need to decide which way I want this. So that one. That one. Ooh. That one's tough too. Maybe we'll go with that. Okay, so I'm gonna put that on my card base. So if you wanted to do this and you don't have any of the paste, if you happen to have any Stickles just the glitter glue, or if you have any other glitter glue type thing, you could just take this and put it out onto your mat, and you could just pick it up and scrape it along, right? So it doesn't have to be that specific kind, although this is fancy. Or if you have just loose glitter, you can take a bit of glue or other paste and mix it together again on the side, and then add it. If you don't have a palette knife, you can use a credit card, an old gift card, something like that you could use to scrape it. You just won't have as much control necessarily. So there's lots of ways to still do this, even if you don't have exactly what I've used here. Okay, so then the other thing, I'll have to think about that, how I'm going to do that. I'm going to use this piece, so I'm just going to cut this thin cut out. Here's my stamp here. So this stamp is Birthday Borders, so Stampin' Thin Cut. And Anne asked me a question there. Slimline card, yes, it's just the fact that it's slim. That's why they call it Slimline, right? Because your kind of standard shape card is more like this, and this is very long. So Slimline card you can do this way, or you can do that way, depending on what you want. So I'm just going to show you what I did here. I'm trying to remember. I think I stamped it and then cut it out. I'll do it. I'll stamp it and then cut it out, and then I'll put the glitter on it. I'll show you how I did that. So I'm going to use my raspberry ink, which coordinates. Oh, that wasn't good. I think I need to move that out of the way. Let's move this over here. Don't want to do that again. Okay, I need a block. This one should be, yep, that one works. Okay, so I'm just going to stamp that here. There we go. Clean that off. Okay, and then I'm just going to run this through. So this one comes with the thin cut. It's wonderful because then you don't have to do any fussy cutting. It is, of course, that bottom one. I'm just going to run this through my machine real quick and then show you how I made it all glittery. Okay. You're welcome, Anne. No problem. Any questions, just ask. Okay, so get rid of this before I make a mess. So now, in order to do this part, obviously I couldn't just like scrape the glitter gel on there, but I have the Stickles. So that's what I did, and I can't remember. I think I actually used the gold one on here, but this one I'm going to use this, and the colors aren't on here, so I forgot what this is called, but I think it's very similar to that. Oh, and this one, I don't know, I think I actually cut the tip off of that. I was messing around with it and I made a mess, so I had to cut the tip off. So don't do that. Make sure that you clean out your tips better. So it makes it a little bit harder. So I think I did use this one on there. And all I did was, oh look, see, I think it's, oh no, it's because it's got quite a bit out of it. There it goes. So you just got to get it started. So I don't know how great you can see that, but I'm kind of using the tip to spread it because you don't need a lot. And I think I actually used too much in some of this because it's kind of, you know, messy there. So it got better as I went because I wasn't using as much. So really, so like a lot of times when you're using these stickles, you want a big puffy line or dot or something, but with this you just want to get a little bit of that out so that you can put it on top of your ink. So you want it to stay on the ink as much as possible. So this is what I mean. You could use this same one and you could put that in your stencil. I made a mess there. What do I do with that? That one wasn't very good. See if I can push some of it back on there. So it takes a little bit of time. The biggest thing is the drying time with this stuff. Because it does take a fair bit of time. When I made the card, or the first sample there, I let it sit overnight because that's the best way, because otherwise you end up making a mistake and touching it. Whoops. Getting a little bit thick there. So it would obviously work better if I didn't have such a snub nose tip on here. There. So I did put, this is the size that I put in the cutting guide. So if you, obviously, if you don't have this die cut sentiment, if you have something else, you want to kind of size that to fit. Or you could like make a fat piece and put it this way and dovetail it like that and then put your sentiment here. Or you could just die cut some letters or a sentiment to put there. So you can do lots of different things with that, right? The thing about this is just really this pretty background. So that's it. If anybody has any questions about that, let me know. Just reading some of the comments. Yes, and it takes some courage to get started if you haven't done the mixed media before, but like Vicky says, it's just a piece of paper. So if you have to start over with another piece of paper, not a big deal, right? You just got to try and think of it that way. So I got to get these somewhere where they're going to dry so that I can put them together. So I'll put them together later or tomorrow morning and I'll post them once they're actually dry, but basically it's going to look the same as that. It's just going to be pink. So that's it for this video. I am coming back at 2 o'clock to show you my final layout. And then if there was anything else that anybody wanted to see, please let me know. And I can maybe pull something together quickly to show you. So have a great afternoon. Grab yourself some nice lunch and I will see you back here at 2 o'clock. Bye-bye.